background. And so I knew all of those people, and they were very, very strong people.
I came in and was always, I was going to call it as I saw it. For example, the edict came down apparently to stop referring to suicide bombings in Israel as suicide bombings, to call them homicide bombings. I thought that was stupid, and I continue to call them suicide bombings because every bombing that kills someone is a homicide bombing.
But when I looked at the liberal roster, there was only one person's name which I recognized, and that was Bob Shrum, who is a very well-known speechwriter and political consultant in Washington. The other ones, though, were people I'd never heard of. My entire background was in politics and political journalism, so I knew pretty much all the players in D.C., and I'd never heard of these people.
The question came up about the ability of the United States to fight two wars simultaneously.
Going into Iraq is going to divert resources and attention that should be focused on al-Qaeda.
And Sean Hannity, being the right-wing cheerleader that he is, was just, incensed that I had the temerity to suggest that we couldn't.
We do have the ability and the resources we're able to walk and chew gum. We can handle the situation in Iraq, and we can still finish the job of protecting against al-Qaeda and another attack.
What happens is when the resources end up getting diverted, and particularly the airlift assets required...
Facts don't seem to have any effect upon him. What was unusual is it was after that appearance that even though I was under contract to Fox for another 8 weeks roughly, they stopped using me.
Your government failed you. Those entrusted with protecting you failed you. And I failed you. And for that failure, I would ask, once all the facts are out, for your understanding and for your forgiveness.
When Richard Clarke emerged, it was obvious this was a danger to the administration because he had worked at the highest echelons of the Bush administration. And it was almost like Fox News was working off of the playbook coming out of the White House, that he had to be torn down, he had to be turned into a Democrat, a liberal, a Kerry guy.
He is bringing this up in the heat of a presidential campaign.
Can you assume from what he's saying that he has now become a political operative?
Do you feel that there is a political... He is, as some have suggested, auditioning for a job in the Kerry administration.
He's sucking up to another administration.
He said when he came to me to ask for my support with Tom Ridge.
He'd been angling for a top job in Homeland Security Department and did not get it.
See, one of the things that Fox does and conservatives do is they don't have to win every argument, but if they can muddy the argument enough, if they can turn it into a draw, that to them is a victory, because it denies the other side a victory.
Well, Sean, there are apparently two Dick Clarks here.
Dick Clark has been on three sides of a two-sided issue.
Okay.
He's totally contradicted himself.
His statements are contradictory.
There's a lot of information that contradicts Clark. And
aren't there sufficient contradictions?
He has written a book, and he certainly wants to go out there and promote that book.
Or is he just out to sell a book?
Who's out to sell his book?
Did he have a motive behind writing the book and going out on 60 Minutes and criticizing the Bush administration? Obviously, this guy's hawking a book.
Unveiling his book.
An appalling act of profiteering.
This guy
rakes Bush over the coals and gives Clinton a pass.
And the book gives Clinton a complete pass.
Easily, Clark treats the Bill Clinton
era
in his book.
Concerns about where the truth lies in what Richard Clarke was saying.
They launched a major smear campaign. In some ways it worked.
I thought, number one, he was extremely melodramatic and that he was intoning with great pathos. I mean, it almost seemed like it was a performance.
And it was just attack politics on a TV channel. Usually you leave attack politics to a political campaign.
Karl Rove and company are quite good at character assassination. There are all these people, dozens of people in the White House, paid for by you and I, paid for by our taxes, right? Writing talking points, calling up conservative columnists, calling up talk radio hosts, telling them what to say. It's interesting. All the talk radio people, the right-wing talk radio people all across the country, saying exactly the same thing, exactly same words.
I noticed that. I was watching it. There's a 24-hour news network, and I'm sure it's a coincidence, but what they were saying was remarkably similar to what the White House was saying, and I couldn't help but thinking how funny that was.
We are bringing diversity of opinion. There is diversity of opinion on Fox News. You may disagree with that. We have many liberals there, many liberal invited. We have liberal commentators, as we have conservative ones.
Who are your liberal commentators?
Alan Colmes, for one, Greta Van Susteren. It's in the eye of the beholder, I guess.
What they'll try to put on the appearance of being balanced, but really kind of a mismatch. You'll have a Hannity and Colmes show where Hannity is a really good-looking, clean-cut, all-American kind of guy, and his counterpart is a little squirrely-looking, frankly. And you kind of say, he's the liberal? Well, maybe he's not so smart after all. And it sends a subtle message, I think.
You're a good liberal. I agree.
Oh, good liberal, good liberal.
A lot of the times, the liberals that they get to appear on are either faux liberals, like I would use Susan Estridge as an example of that, a person who is brought on who essentially agrees with the person on the right in a lot of cases.
I am your biggest liberal friend. I do take a little heat. People sometimes say to me, do you really like Sean Hannity?
What's not to like? What does that mean?
I thought I was Sean's biggest liberal friend. I
love you all. I love all my liberal friends.
Or they would just bring on people who were very weak, people who were not well-known people.
We can learn from history because if we don't, we're condemned to repeat it.
You're not going to get the truth and the facts. You're going to get one guy, Clark, accusing Bush, saying Clinton really, giving him a pass. Then you're going to get the Bush administration attacking Clark. You're not going to get the truth, Marianne. You weren't there. You don't know.
Right. You're probably right about that.
Even the people who are supposedly liberal in those panel discussions, they know that to challenge the guests and the other hosts too forcefully, they'll certainly find someone else to stand in your place if that's the case.
You're spinning now. I'm not right wing. I believe in global warming.
We looked at Special Report's one-on-one interviews. They're once a day. We studied 25 weeks of the one-on-one guest who appeared on Special Report from late June through mid-December of 2003. Republicans appeared 5 times as often as Democrats on one-on-one newsmaker interviews. That means that Republicans made up 83% of the partisan guests, while Democrats made up just 17%. In addition, the few Democrats that were interviewed for the show tended to be centrist and conservative Democrats, often brought on to affirm Bush administration policies. So what does this all mean? Well, if Fox were the bastion of fairness and balance that it claims to be, we'd see a lot more balance in this prominent interview segment on the network's most prestigious show. Instead, the numbers indicate that Brit Hume and Special Report choose their guests based on political considerations rather than news judgment.
That's here on the Fox News Channel, the network America trusts for fair and balanced news.
My criticism of Fox News isn't that it's a conservative channel. It's the consumer fraud of fair and balanced. It's nothing of the sort.
You pitch a story in any given editorial meeting that didn't meet the criteria that they had explained to you, and you got a thumbs down.
When you have this executive vice president and those around him who are consistently saying, no, we're not going to do that story. No, this story's bad, this story's good. And it becomes very clear to all the bureau chiefs, to everybody involved who have been there over a period of years, there are certain kinds of stories it's not even worth bringing up. There are other kinds of stories that management's going to love.
Fox News Channel's stated practice was to embarrass, humiliate, challenge, or disrupt whatever Jesse Jackson did. But we were told on many occasions that he was one of our targets. Anything we could do or say that would embarrass him, discredit him, we were encouraged to find the information, and we were encouraged to report the information.
I did a piece on immigration, and I thought it was poignant to tell the stories of these people and all of the things that they had to go through to get citizenship, and how we take for granted how really blessed we are to be born with it. And the line that I used in describing their efforts was, folks seeking citizenship earned, not born, suggesting that, hey, they really want citizenship because they've got to go through all of these motions. But managing editor was very angry. He says, what do these people earn? They haven't earned a thing. They're just here for a free ride. They're just here trying to take advantage of all of our freebies. And I mean, it was just, he just laid waste to the idea that these people were hardworking.
It was very specifically said, we need to be fairer to the Bush administration or to the Republicans than anybody else in the media would be. but that was always understood as sort of a code for